Some kids have shown that the statement, "children are a blessing," is not always true because of the deadly crimes they chose to commit. They have made fun of their victims' memories and have sworn to hit a deadly target. Today, we are looking at the reactions of these children when they find out the consequences of their actions. On July 6, 2012, 16-year-old Skylar Neese disappeared from her home in Star City, West Virginia, and was not found until January 16, 2013. Unfortunately, only Neese's body was found with the help of one of the murderers, Rachel Schoaf. The other person who was charged with the murder of Neese was Sheila Eddy. Schoaf and Eddy were friends with Neese until their friendship turned sour. According to Schoaf's confession, the motive for murdering Neese was that they didn't like her and didn't want to be friends with her anymore. The surveillance of the apartment where Neese lived showed that Neese left her home at 12:30 a.m. through her window and entered a sedan with Schoaf and Eddy. That was the last time anyone besides Schoaf and Eddy saw Neese alive. Because of this, Neese was first treated as a runaway until the police discovered that the sedan on the surveillance belonged to Eddy.
Rachel and Sheila drove around Star City and in the area, preparing themselves. They had concealed knives on their bodies that had been wrapped in towels by Sheila Eddy, and they took that shovel with them, and they arrived at Skylar's home and told her they were waiting for her. They were waiting to kill her.
When Schoaf and Eddy were questioned, they said they had hung out with Neese but dropped her off at home an hour later. At this point, Neese hadn't been found. However, on January 3, 2013, Rachel Schoaf suddenly admitted that she and Eddy had plotted to kill Neese. She also led the authorities to where they had left Neese's body. Skylar Neese had been stabbed to death almost 30 miles away from her home before Schoaf and Eddy dumped her body and covered it with branches. It was not until years later that Schoaf finally gave the real motive behind the murder. According to her, she and Eddy had been in a romantic relationship, and Neese caused tension between the couple, leading them to get rid of her.
Sorry. I don't know if there's a proper way to make this apology, because there are not even words to describe the guilt and remorse that I feel each day for what I've done.
Schoaf pled guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for cooperating with the authorities to find her victim. In court, she apologized for her actions and showed remorse for what she did. She was teary as she apologized to Neese's family and her parents. Eventually, it was time for sentencing.
It is the sentence of the court that you be imprisoned in the West Virginia State Penitentiary for a period of 30 years.
Rachel Schoaf was sentenced to 30 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 10 years. On May 9, 2023, Schoaf became eligible for parole and bid for it. She was denied parole and remains in custody. Schoaf and Eddy murdered Neese because of romantic tension, but how does it compare to murdering one's grandparents for no apparent reason, as Johnny Ryder and Cassandra Bjorg did?
All right, Ms. Bjorg, you are charged with 2 felony warrants for murder, 2 felony warrants for aggravated assault.
On April 8, 2017, Gwinnett County, Georgia, experienced the shocking and brutal double murders of 63-year-old Randall and Wendy Bjorg. The two were grandparents to 17-year-old Cassandra Bjorg. They had gained legal custody of her because she had issues with her parents. Despite the grandparents' best efforts to give Cassandra a good life, she became more troubled and would run away from home from time to time. She also brought home drugs and assaulted her grandmother on multiple occasions. She had a boyfriend, 19-year-old Johnny Ryder, with whom she ran away many times. The couple was described as volatile and toxic. Eventually, they committed even worse crimes. On April 8, police responded to an assault case at a home in Lawrenceville. The victims identified the attackers as Johnny Ryder and Cassandra Bjorg. The two had attacked Johnny's sister and her boyfriend with a baseball bat and pepper spray before escaping. The car they used to escape belonged to Wendy and Randall Bjorg, which led the police to force their way into the home, expecting the worst. To their horror, they found the bodies of Wendy and Randall. The two had been stabbed multiple times, with autopsies revealing blunt force trauma to the head and various cuts around their throats. Everyone was horrified that something like this could happen in their community. Cassie and Johnny became the main suspects in the case, and a day after the bodies were found, the granddaughter and her boyfriend were located after barricading themselves inside an apartment. They refused to come out, and by the time the SWAT team gained a visual, they found the teens injured in the bathroom. They had tried to commit suicide. They failed at this attempt and were taken to the hospital. The two were charged with the murders of Cassie's grandparents. The interrogation revealed shocking details that showed the murder had been premeditated.
Seems that you're sorry you got caught, that you had people over after. You don't seem to be sorry that you killed your grandparent.
Cassie told the police that they had planned to murder her grandparents and keep the bodies from being discovered. According to Cassandra, she and Johnny waited until her grandparents were asleep before entering their bedroom, duct taping, and attacking them. The murder weapons included a tire iron, a baseball bat, a hammer, and butcher knives. The two of them beat and stabbed the Bjorgs to death. What's even more horrific is that after the murders, Cassandra sealed the windows and doors to keep the smell of the decomposing bodies from escaping.
And then we came back to the house.
When you guys left, where'd you guys go to?
We went over to like Kroger or Publix to go get something to eat. And then we went back to the house. And we just kind of like chilled there.
Which one?
It was like on Old Peachtree.
Johnny and Cassie then ordered takeout and invited their friends to the house for a party. She also said that they smoked a lot of weed to mask the smell of the bodies, as they were in the house for more than a week.
Things like just seemed different. They didn't look at me the same anymore. Like they didn't, I don't know, it's like the vibe that they had was like, they didn't really know what to do. They didn't really know like how to be around me, I guess. They didn't really know how to talk to me.
The motive for the murder was shocking. Cassie said she killed her grandparents because they were too strict. She also said that her grandparents weren't the only intended victims. According to her, she and Johnny had planned to kill Johnny's family and Cassandra's mother. They both took a plea deal and didn't go to trial. Both of them were sentenced to 2 life sentences each, with the possibility of parole after years. When the two heard their sentences, their reactions were different from each other. While Johnny apologized for what he did, Cassie was said to have been crying and refused to say anything, even when she was given the chance to speak. The two would be eligible for parole in 2077. This case bears some semblance to the next one, but what do we say of an adult helping a minor to kill her father, like Ellen Fryer?
I've seen all different kinds of people, and now see humanity from a new, compassionate perspective.
This is Ellen Fryer, and she is being charged with a felony of conspiring to murder her father with the help of her 19-year-old boyfriend in 2017. On October 2, 2017, 50-year-old Aaron Fryer and 15-year-old Ellen Fryer were reported missing by Aaron's girlfriend after Aaron's younger daughters had found blood in their home. Aaron's 11-year-old daughter said she heard her father yelling in the morning but didn't come down until later. Then she recalled hearing the voice of Gavin McFarland, Ellen's 19-year-old boyfriend. Aaron's body was found a week later in the woods. Based on the statements that Ellen's siblings had given, Ellen and her boyfriend were brought in for questioning, and the details that were revealed will shock you. According to Ellen, her father had told her that she could not be with Gavin because she was a minor, and Gavin should know better. Before the unfortunate murder, Aaron had forbidden Gavin from seeing his daughter again and even threatened to kill him if he saw him near his daughter again. Ellen allegedly told the police that her father had been abusive and that she wanted to run away together with Gavin. According to her, Gavin had shown up with 22-year-old Russell Jones with a machete in hand. She told the police that 22-year-old Jones had attacked her father, and she ran away when she heard yelling. However, the story that Jones told the police was different. He told them that it was Gavin who had killed Aaron with a baseball bat. He said that he had walked into the house to see Aaron's body on the floor. Jones said that the only role he played in the murder was helping Gavin to get rid of the body. He also said that Ellen had been the mastermind behind it all. Gavin McFarland admitted to killing Aaron Fryer, but there was a sickening twist.
I didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to kill him. She wanted him dead, but I didn't want to kill him. I was like, I'm not going to kill him. She was all like, no, I don't want him around.
Ellen had told Gavin that her father had abused her and that she was 2 weeks pregnant as a result. Except Ellen wasn't pregnant, and Aaron Fryer hadn't been abusive. He was just trying to protect his daughter from Gavin, who was eventually found guilty of third-degree rape because he had sexual relations with Fryer as a minor. Gavin then revealed that Ellen had told him to kill her father. He said she told him this: "Go out in the front room, take him out, and text me and let me know when it's done." After this was revealed, Ellen pled guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Gavin McFarland was found guilty of homicide and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. At her sentencing hearing, Ellen apologized for her actions and said that she was spending every day asking for forgiveness because she found God during the period that she was awaiting sentencing. She will be eligible for parole in 2041. Where Ellen used the help of another person to murder her father, The same cannot be said for Gavin Smith, who murdered his entire family by himself.
There's days that I do anything to take it back.
On December 13, 2020, the bodies of 4 people were found in Elkview, West Virginia. 39-year-old Risa Saunders Long, 37-year-old Daniel Long, 12-year-old Gage Ripley, and 3-year-old Jameson Long. The 4 members of the family were fatally shot. The perpetrator? 16-year-old Gavin Smith. The people who were murdered were Gavin's mother, his stepfather, and his 2 younger brothers. All 5 of them had been in the house because of COVID-19 curfews and restrictions. According to Gavin, the pressure in the house was overbearing because his parents were strict and had too many rules on everything, ranging from food to screen time. Gavin decided to murder his parents after they forbade him from seeing his 17-year-old girlfriend, Rebecca Walker. Gavin Smith waited until his family was asleep before he shot his parents and 12-year-old brother in the head. Before he did this, he was on a video call with Rebecca. At first, it seemed like Gavin had hung up to commit the murders, but evidence later showed that the video call was still ongoing when he murdered his family. After he shot them, he continued to talk to Rebecca until he heard his 3-year-old brother crying from under his crib where he was hiding. He then went to look for him before shooting him in the head as well. After he committed the murder, he went to Rebecca's house, and she hid him for 4 days until the police found him. Gavin was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of second-degree murder, and use of a firearm during the commission of a felony.
You do grant this alternate sentence Mr. Sullivan's talking about, you won't have an issue on me because I never was involved with it all until December 2020.
After he was charged in court, Gavin apologized for his actions and said that he would take it back if he could. He also asked for leniency. Despite this, the judge believed that he showed no remorse for his actions because what he did was evil. Judge Kenneth Ballard also said that the only reason he was sentencing Gavin with mercy was because Smith had committed the murders as a minor.
Executed your mother and stepfather by shooting them in the head while they were asleep. And then you executed your 2 brothers by shooting them in the head, the youngest which was hiding under his crib. Your actions can only be described as an act of pure evil.
Eventually, Smith was sentenced to 3 life sentences for the first-degree murder of his mother, stepfather, and 3-year-old brother, 40 years for the murder of his 12-year-old brother, and 10 years for the use of a firearm. Gavin will be eligible for parole after 15 years, but he may never be granted. While Gavin Smith faces 3 life sentences, the next case takes it to another level: a teen who murdered her own mother.
She was having a mental health crisis.
She doesn't know what was going on at that time. We're asking you to find her not guilty by reason of insanity.
Prosecutors say she shot her mother,
Ashley Smiley, a 40-year-old high school math teacher, in the face on March 19, 2024. A friend of 14-year-old Carly Gregg reached out to Ashley Smiley, Carly's mother, expressing concerns about her daughter's excessive use of marijuana. The friend revealed that Carly had been indulging in the drug and using burner cell phones, raising alarms about their well-being. Determined to act, Ashley decided to confront her daughter about the rumors. After speaking to Carly's friend, Ashley made her way to Carly's bedroom. What she discovered there shocked her. Several vape pens lay scattered across the bedroom. Alarmed, Ashley quickly wanted answers.
The jury seeing 5 days of disturbing evidence, including this surveillance video. First, you see Greg with a gun behind her back, pacing around the
Security camera footage from inside the home captured a chilling scene. Carly, dressed in a Nirvana t-shirt, moved around the house, seemingly hiding something behind her back. It turned out to be a .357 Magnum handgun. As Carly walked out of view from the camera, the sound of 3 gunshots shattered the silence. The footage then showed Carly rushing back to the kitchen, where she sat calmly on a stool at the counter. She took out her phone and texted a friend, asking them to come over because there was an emergency. When Carly's friends arrived at the house, Carly asked them if they had ever seen a dead body. Without further explanation, Carly took them into her mother's bedroom, where Ashley lay lifeless, her face soaked in blood. According to this friend, Carly confessed that her stepfather, Heath Smiley, was next on her list. Using her dead mother's phone, Carly, pretending to be her mother, sent a message to Heath. The message read, "When will you be home, honey?" Little did Heath know that this message was a carefully crafted trap. Her stepfather, Heath Smiley, came home moments later, with Carly also planning to shoot him. When Heath arrived at the front door, Carly ambushed him, shooting her stepfather in the shoulder. Despite the injury, Heath managed to take control of the situation. He overpowered Carly and took the gun away from her, ultimately saving his own life. In a panic, Heath called for help. Police officers arrived swiftly, along with paramedics, and Carly was arrested on the spot. As investigators delved into Carly's background, they discovered a diary that shed light on her darkest thoughts. The journal revealed a web of beliefs that painted a chilling picture of Carly's twisted mind. Among these beliefs were statements such as, "There is no God," "It's okay to be evil," and "There is no need for family." The prosecution offered Carly a 40-year plea deal before her trial. However, she declined the offer. Carly's case quickly gained media attention, and the trial commenced 6 months later, in September 2024. Tonight, a Mississippi teen is sentenced to life in prison without parole for murdering her mother and attempting to kill her stepfather. During the trial, the prosecution presented a compelling argument, painting Carly Gregg as a calculating and cold-hearted killer. They alleged that Carly intentionally shot and killed her mother, Ashley, after Ashley discovered her secret marijuana use. The prosecution described Carly as a dangerous young lady who showed no remorse for her actions and planned the attack on her stepfather. With the jury sentencing the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, to life imprisonment, the defense, on the other hand, presented a different narrative to the court. They claimed that Carly was in the midst of mental health struggles at the time of the crimes. A psychiatrist testified that Carly's mood swings were exacerbated by the medication she was taking. This psychiatrist argued that Carly's actions were not premeditated but were driven by her unstable mental state. According to the psychiatrist, Carly's mental health struggles played a significant role in her violent actions. To support this claim, the defense presented Carly's journals as evidence, which revealed a young woman in mental turmoil. During the trial, the prosecution presented the body cam footage captured by the police officers at the scene. The video depicted the chaotic aftermath of the murders as officers arrived at the scene and conducted their investigation. Carly sat at the defense table. She stared intently, her eyes fixed on the screen. She had killed her mom. As Carly watched the footage, tears welled up in her eyes. The once composed and confident teenager was overcome with emotion. One of the key witnesses in Carly's trial was her stepfather, Heath. "It went off in my face before the door was, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches wide open," Heath testified about the tragic events that led to his wife's murder. He stated that despite Carly's actions, he still had a good relationship with her. This statement shocked the public as it seemed incomprehensible that he could maintain a bond with someone who had shot him and taken the life of his wife. In their closing argument, the prosecution reminded the jury that Carly knew the difference between right and wrong when she committed the murder. After careful consideration, the jury deliberated for less than 2 hours before delivering their verdict. They returned a guilty verdict, finding Carly guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Carly, who was only 15 years old, was found guilty of first-degree murder. Speaking to WLBT in an exclusive interview, Kevin Gregg, Carly's biological father, said he was embarrassed, angry, upset, and very sad about his daughter's actions. Currently, Carly is being held in the Youthful Offender Unit at the Central Mississippi Correctional Facility. The defense attorneys have indicated that they plan to appeal Carly's conviction. However, given the severity of her crime and the public outcry, it seems unlikely that the appeal will successfully overturn the verdict. The next case involves Julio Cesar Rivera II, a notorious teen who shot a woman in the face during a string of carjackings, leaving a trail of terror in his wake. But the robbery suspect didn't understand it had a keyless starting system. He says the man turned violent and started pistol whipping Alana on November 2, 2021, at approximately 3 p.m. 18-year-old Julio Cesar Rivera II approached Atlanta Castaneda at Whole Foods Market in the Alamo Quarry Market. Little did she know, Julio was armed with a gun and prepared to carry out a robbery. When his daughter found a gun in her face, she tried to give up her car, and he says that woman who helped his daughter in her greatest hour of need. He says that woman's a hero. As the confrontation unfolded, Elena and Julio began struggling as Julio attempted to steal her vehicle. In the chaos, the weapon went off, striking Elena in the head. The gunshot echoed through the bustling marketplace, attracting the attention of bystanders and witnesses. Godsend, everyone. I have never felt this much love in my life. In the aftermath of the shooting, Julio fled the scene, leaving Elena bleeding on the ground. However, officers quickly caught up to him a short while later, finding a handgun in his possession. Elena miraculously recovered, but that night's impact would forever haunt her. As investigators dug deeper into Julio's actions, they discovered a chilling pattern of armed carjackings dating back to October 2021. During this period, Julio had committed numerous carjackings targeting unsuspecting victims throughout San Antonio. The crimes had escalated over time, displaying an alarming increase in violence. According to court records, 20-year-old Julio Cesar Rivera was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Facing mounting evidence against him, Julio pleaded guilty to 3 cases against him in 2023. The plea deal secured a conviction and prevented Julio from appealing his sentence. This meant the judge's decision was final, leaving little room for negotiation or reconsideration. It was 45 years. I just started crying because it's not just for me, it's for the other victims as well. During the sentencing phase, Elena had the opportunity to address the court and make her voice heard. She demanded that Julio receive the maximum sentence of 45 years for his crime. Elena explained to the court the pain and trauma she had endured as a result of his actions, emphasizing the need for justice to be served. During Julio's sentencing hearing, his family pleaded for leniency from the judge. Julio's loved ones argued that he had grown up without his mother and had faced numerous challenges throughout his life. They suggested that other people had manipulated Julio into participating in the carjackings. According to his father's partner, Julio had once lived with them but struggled with substance abuse. They had to kick him out of their house on several occasions due to his inability to cope with his addiction. That aspect of Julio's life further complicated the situation and, according to the defense, shed light on the reasons behind his actions. I appreciate that his parents might think he was put up to it, but these were his choices. These were his decisions. This was his gun. They presented evidence indicating that Julio had obtained the gun used to shoot Elena, leading to further suspicion that he was responsible for the heinous crime. Ahead of his sentencing, Rivera apologized directly to Castaneda. "I got a lot of time to sit here and think about what I've done. I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago." The judge, weighing the evidence presented, opted to sentence Julio to the harshest possible 45 years behind bars. In an emotional moment, Julio addressed Elena in court, expressing his sorrow and regret. Julio claimed that he prays daily for forgiveness and Elena's good health, seeking redemption for his actions. "Face-to-face with Rivera again was hard," said Castaneda, who had already endured 3 surgeries with a 4th to come. Following the sentencing, Elena shared her thoughts and feelings on social media. She expressed the challenges she faced in the aftermath of facing her shooter in court, acknowledging the emotional toll it took on her. Elena emphasized the importance of her ongoing recovery process and assured her supporters that she was determined to move forward with her life. In this next case, Joshua Coleman, a 15-year-old boy, seemed to have a normal upbringing. However, beneath the surface, things were not as they appeared. Dia Green, a 15-year-old girl, was a chronic runaway, often disappearing for days. However, when her parents reported her missing in early January 2013, the police knew something was different this time. Her parents gave the authorities detailed information, hoping to bring her home safely. Last year, Toledo police found the 15-year-old girl dead in an alley in the 1300 block of Page, just 6 days after she was reported missing. Dia's lifeless body was found in an alley. She had been shot once in the head. The police were immediately called to investigate, and a crime scene was quickly established. Through their investigation, the police obtained a crucial eyewitness account. This witness claimed a 15-year-old boy named Joshua Coleman was the one who fatally shot Dia. As Green's mother asked him why he killed her daughter, why would Joshua do this to her? She didn't deserve it. She was so butterfly. For days after the discovery of Dia's body, Joshua was arrested and charged with murder and felonious assault. He was swiftly indicted as an adult, a decision that shocked many given the age of both victim and perpetrator. According to sources, Dia and Joshua had been dating shortly before her death. Joshua Coleman's attorneys and prosecutors eventually reached an agreement. The prosecution agreed to drop the charges of felonious assault and the gun specifications in exchange for Joshua receiving a life sentence but being eligible for parole in 2039. During the sentencing hearing, the prosecution told the court the motive for Joshua's shooting of Dia was never determined. "The last time I saw my baby was December 31st. That was the last day I saw my baby," said Dia's mother, delivering a devastating victim impact statement. She described Dia as a social butterfly, full of life and joy. Throughout the trial, Joshua remained silent, only answering yes and no questions from the judge. His lack of remorse further enraged Dia's loved ones. In her murder, later this month, he was sentenced to 15 years to life behind bars. During the sentencing phase, the judge asked Joshua if he wanted to give a statement or explain the motive behind the shooting. However, Joshua declined, leaving many unanswered questions. Without the eyewitness's testimony, there may never have been justice for Dia. The police, acknowledging this witness's crucial role, credited that person for their bravery and determination. It was the eyewitness's testimony that ultimately led to Joshua's conviction. Up next is the chilling tale of Brendan D.A., a teenage felon whose crimes shocked his school community and targeted his own teacher. He's charged with beating teacher Joanna Dicht last year for taking his Nintendo away in class. Deputies say he beat her unconscious. Joanna Dicht was a valued paraprofessional at Matanza High School who had gained a reputation for her dedication and commitment to supporting students. However, she became increasingly concerned about Brendan D.A., a troubled teen known for his aggressive behavior and obsession with gaming. In February 2023, Joanne approached Brendan's teacher to express her concerns about allowing him to participate in the gaming console class. She believed that, given his disruptive behavior and lack of focus, he should not be allowed to use the console in the classroom. Brendan became enraged after hearing that he would no longer be allowed to use the console in the classroom. Instead of directing his anger towards his teacher, Brendan turned his wrath on Joanne. In a fit of rage, he stood up and got into Joanne's face, spitting on her. Determined to escape the situation, Joanne attempted to leave the classroom. However, Brendan refused to back down, pushing her to the ground. As Joanne lay defenseless on the ground, Brendan continued his assault, raining down blows and kicks upon her. Fortunately, the assault was interrupted by several bystanders who managed to pull Brendan away from Joanne. Friends are raising money for Joanne in a GoFundMe. You can see more than $40,000 has been raised so far. As the deputies led Brendan away, he continued to threaten Joanne, vowing to kill her. Joanne's injuries were extensive and required immediate medical attention. She was hospitalized, where she was diagnosed with broken ribs, herniated discs, and rotator cuff injuries. In addition to these physical wounds, Joanne also began to experience the impact of the attack on her mental health. Matanza High School surveillance system captured the entire incident. Footage of Brendan's merciless beating of Joanne quickly spread online, captivating the attention of viewers worldwide. Brendan's time behind bars was not without controversy. He managed to secure his GED while incarcerated. Nevertheless, he also found himself in frequent trouble, accumulating 9 incidents while confined in Flagler County Jail. He is articulate and thoughtful in his responses to the court. He's been here the entire day without any problems in that regard, participating in these proceedings. 2 years after his arrest, Brendan pleaded no contest to aggravated battery on a school board employee. During the sentencing hearing, Brendan's demeanor was both disturbing and perplexing. Brendan laid his head on the defense table, candidate for solely community-based sanctions, at least not at first, turning to this particular incident. When the prosecutor spoke, calling Brendan dangerous, Brendan bent over in his seat, keeping his eyes firmly planted on the ground. The judge sentenced Brendan to 5 years in state prison and 15 years probation. Addressing Brendan directly, the judge declared that he had shown no remorse throughout the proceedings, but, for all of his diagnoses and treatment, he needs to be evaluated for his prescription medication on a regular basis. Throughout the hearing, Brendan became increasingly agitated. He repeatedly protested at his attorney and demanded to speak, holding up a sheet of paper twice to emphasize his point. As Brendan left the courthouse, his demeanor seemed to change. Instead of his usual smile and enthusiastic interactions with the press, he gave a disturbing gesture. Brendan flipped off the cameras, sending a chilling message to the media and the world. "Ashley, I want to thank you for having me on tonight. I really appreciate that. It obviously was not what we were hoping for." Speaking on his behalf, Brendan's mother expressed her dissatisfaction with the verdict and the sentence. Brendan's mother also claimed that the court was punishing her son because of his race. She alleged that the school district had failed her son by not implementing a proper behavior plan, leading to his aggressive behavior. Instead of prison, she advocated for Brendan to receive treatment, believing that this alternative would better address his issues. While Brendan's actions may have stopped short of murder, the case of 15-year-old Gregory Ramos serves as a chilling reminder of the depths of human corruption. Around midnight, he allegedly sneaked into his mom's room and strangled her. Then, he went to get a wheelbarrow to bring the body out of the house. Gail Clevelander, a deeply religious woman, was known for her sweet, kind nature and ability to get along well with everyone.